Hi, it's Christine here. I just thought I would kind of do a video response for Shadow Heathen on the astral projection, lucid dreaming stuff. I had wanted to be in the Hangout, and of course, unfortunately, due to work schedule, tend to miss it. Um, I just thought I would talk a little bit about my experiences with the lucid dreaming and with astral projection. I used to be not really into it per se, that I was trying to do this sort of thing, and I still have a tendency to lucid dream quite a bit. Um, Unfortunately, there are times where the lucid dreaming will turn into me having nightmares, and some of that is just leftover real PTSD, not what some people like to claim as PTSD, um, from stuff that I've been through. So tend to cause some serious nightmares. And unfortunately, I'm pretty lucid during these things. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Um, I guess because in some ways I know that I can escape and I can get out, and I'm able to figure out how to get out of it and wake myself up most of the time. Um, Other times where I have things attacking me, whatever, somebody else has to wake me up from the outside. But I have gotten to the point where I'm able to control enough that I can scream for help from inside the dream and do so on the outside as well, which has helped considerably, because then I'm able to get out of them, because somebody can wake me up when they're hearing me. Um, I haven't had as many good ones lately, lucid wise, where I can control it, although um, I am able to read in dreams and things like that. And how I started was that I would keep a dream journal and write these things down. But I was also taught from early on, and part of it is German mysticism background, German Catholicism, and a lot of exposure to Native American beliefs and stuff like that, just because of the way I was brought up. I was taught early on dream interpretation and controlling dreams. So to actually guide somebody through a process to be able to how to lucid dream, I don't know if I'd be very good at it, because, well, I'm in my late 40s now, and I was taught from very, very early on. Um, Regarding the, so that's my stuff on lucid dreaming anyway. That yeah, you can train yourself where you can read, um, and like I said, in my situation with any nightmares, anything like that, night terrors, what have you, I'm able to get get somebody to wake me up from when I'm in the dream and trapped. So actually, in some ways, that's a really good thing. That's better than where I was 10 years ago. Um, Regarding astral projection, um, I had, sorry, I'm holding the camera here. I had times where I had done what I considered astral projection, and it wasn't what a lot of these new agers will go through and say is, oh, you're going out to the stars and you're going out to the universe, and spirit science is kind of a really convoluted, messed up one, as far as what, at least compared to what I've experienced. Now, again, when I was growing up, I was reading, I swiped my mom's Edgar Casey books at a young age. I was reading those at, like, I think 10 years old. I was also reading my father's microbiology texts and stuff like that at that age. Um, and my exposures were like Doctor Who and Christopher Lee on, any vampire movies and things like that. Um, and a little further background, Bible reading was, well, what do you think this could have been? I had never been to church. I hadn't been baptized, anything like that. So it was more analytical and trying to get a science fiction writer type brain going with me with the Bible, but yet still believed it at the time. So when it came to the astral projection, I imagine I had done some of it while I was really, really little. Um, it's said that kids are, pretty much able to just kind of walk a lot easier, especially from what I'd been told anyway, before age 6, the brain is not as fixed. And we're learning that now as far as like language learning and stuff like that too. So, I had always been of the mindset that children are able to be a little bit more free spiritually until we start hammering home things on them. So, if I was doing some stuff there, I don't quite remember because there was a lot of other issues going on too that kind of are forefront in my memory more than what I was dreaming at the time. But later on, and I did have a pretty severe head injury in school when I was 11, playing indoor soccer, and somebody tripped me intentionally. And he even admitted later after high school that he did it intentionally and didn't care if I died at the time. Tripped me while I was going for the ball, and I hit the concrete wall head first. So I'm trying to be a little bit skeptical on this too, but again, with head injuries, with certain mental health disorders, since we don't have a full understanding of the brain yet, and I've taken care of people with head injuries that had complete, the closed head injuries where they have a complete and utter personality change. You'll have a person who's totally analytical, mathematics, things like that, and suddenly they're painting like Van Gogh or, doing Michelangelo, things like this. I mean, I've actually seen this happen because I worked in a locked psychiatric unit for a while, and so I'd seen the results of that. So the human brain is extremely complex, and we're still learning a lot. So what head injuries contribute, what certain psychotropic meds contribute, what certain things like severe schizophrenia, things like that, we really don't know what goes on inside that person's head, what they're thinking at each moment. If we could get an actual microphone in there and, listen to their thoughts daily, that would be one thing, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So, like I said, I'm trying to be a bit skeptical about it, but my own personal experiences, I did a lot of what I considered astral projection after age 12, and what it was for me, I really didn't see the silver cord type thing. I had, when I felt like I would step out, and it's pretty much, I would see my body just laying there, and I would just kind of shift right out. And when I do this, and it was every single time, multiple times, everything was just this, I mean, it was always at night when I'd be sleeping, and I got into the habit after this not to lay on my back anymore, and I still don't to this day, because it would happen when I'd lay on my back. And part of it is that I have always had reactive airway disease, and so I lay on my back and I stop breathing. So I think that might contribute to some of this as well. I don't know. Again, trying to be analytical about it. But as soon as I would shift and I'd be looking down at my body and start walking around the house, I knew when I was in this state, because everything, and not only was there this, that it'd be dark, but everything was kind of just this weird form of a teal, almost like these wings are. Kind of hard to see, but you can see that teal color there. So everything was highlighted in that kind of strange color. And so it was like looking at a negative, an old film negative, but everything was in blues instead of the whites or browns or whatever you used to see with the extremely old ones. And I could go around the house, and I had seen things in this state. Like, we lived next to a cemetery, so I would see people that'd be just in random areas of the house. The house itself was brand new, so it wasn't any, not like living in something from the 1800s or what have you. But I'd see random people, or there'd be times that, if I was by myself and thought something was flying around the room or whatever, and I don't know if I was dreaming and actually sleepwalking maybe and moving things around, but I'd get up and find things moved. And I used to sleepwalk quite a bit too. So there's a combination of factors to say, okay, what actually was this? But, I encountered people with completely black eyes that were extremely frightening. I mean, where the whole inside of the eyeball was black, everything. And just awful, awful sensations from them. And other times I would be hearing, what I would consider the ancestors talking, because we're from a very old family. And there were just other weird experiences that I don't want to talk about, but it all was in this weird kind of state, and I could direct myself exactly where I was going in the house, and I could go to any of the floors. I felt like I could touch and manipulate objects, things like that. I never stepped outside of the house, and I don't know if that was stepping outside of my comfort zone at the time. And well, I mean, if this actually was me just dreaming and not spirit walking, as I like to call it, then that might explain why I never stepped outside the house. But that door was kind of a barrier to the unknown, and I just never went past it. So, and sometimes, depending on the creatures or the people that I would encounter, I'd be slammed back into my body, absolutely, like, if you've ever been punched, you know what it feels like. I mean, if you've really been hit hard where it knocks you almost to the floor, that's what it feels like to be slammed back into your body, and I'd had that happen many times. So good and bad experiences of both. I had always been taught you don't try to spirit walk, and you don't do it without an experienced guide to help bring you back. And considering my current issues with night terrors and with the nightmares that I have, I can understand why, because you are very easily, even if this is just something going on in your head and you're not actually leaving your body, I think there are times you do, but that's part of my religious belief. But either way, you can easily get so messed up if you can't get out of that state. And sometimes I wonder if some of these disorders, the first trigger isn't somebody getting trapped in their nightmare and they can't wake up, so to speak. So their brain is constantly, part of their consciousness is always in this nightmare where they're hearing the voices talking or whatever. So yeah, I can understand why you say not to do this without a spirit guide, without a physical person sitting there that is experienced with this sort of thing, that they can wake you up. Now, mind you, a lot of people will say it's so you don't get possessed or whatever. We don't know while we have a good idea now with what a lot of these disorders and chemical imbalances and stuff are, that they used to think are possession, I still believe in it myself, but then considering some of the places I worked, yeah. But it's just really hard to tell. So it's not something I suggest anybody experiments with, honestly. There's a lot of people that will go and try to do this stuff and listen to charlatans like some of them that are out there on YouTube. There's several that say that they can do telekinesis and manipulate objects and all of that. There's other ones that, are saying that they're channeling aliens and stuff, You, it is kind of a dangerous territory because you can get so ingrained into it and believe this stuff, and it's either utter nonsense or you can possibly get yourself into a state that you can't get yourself out of. Especially if you have any sort of mental health issue that you're not aware of. And these things can become obsessions, stuff like that. So it is something that you very much have to be careful with. So, yeah, this was meant to actually be a video in response to Shadow Heathen, but I guess I kind of went on my soapbox about it, and I wasn't planning on any of this, actually. And sorry about constantly looking away at the camera, but Oscar's been trying to eat things. I can't do a single video without Oscar. Anyway, you guys have a fantastic day. Blessed be everybody.